So guys, on today's video, the footage was shot in September of 2020. I worked on this tractor, putting a fuel injection pump on it. Didn't have any idea how to do it. Well, it's still running with the same pump, so what I did worked out. So now that I found this lost footage, I'm gonna share it so maybe it'll help somebody else working on their JiNma made tractor. Thank you guys. Hey guys, let me show you what I got here. This is a smartrac 284, and I'll probably talk about it throughout the video, keep telling you what it is. It's got the Y385 3-cylinder Chinese diesel. This is a Chinese tractor, and this same engine is used on Farm Pro, smartrac. I mean, just about all the Chinese tractors. They just put different bodies on them. But anyway, what we have here is a new injection pump that I just installed today. If your injection pump looks like this and you're having trouble running or misfiring or it just plugged up, this one was donated to us for our Christian summer camp. We couldn't get it to crank. They couldn't get it to crank. It's been sitting for 5 years, and it only has 105 hours on it. So the tractor's unhurt, only been used in a garden. I mean, look at the tires on this thing. They haven't been run. But that's sitting up, the diesel fuel gelled, and it just, the little lifters that go up and down and pump the valves in there, the valves were hung up. The lifters were free, but the valves were stuck. So it wasn't firing and pushing pressure, which was this one. So we bought a new one. We tried freeing up and just, you know, thought about having it rebuilt, but then rebuilding, especially with it being Chinese too, rebuilding was really around the cost of a brand new one. So we went with new. Had all new seals with it, just had to go through it. And I filmed it because I couldn't find a video out there that showed anything. And remember, this is not a how-to video, and I'll say this again throughout the video. It's not a how-to video, but it's a video on how I did it. And it seemed to work. And again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a guy that's owned some equipment and trucks and been a contractor and been around stuff all my life. First time I've ever dealt with a diesel injection pump before. So we'll learn together through this video. Hope it helps you, and God bless. So guys, today I'm going to change the injector pump on this tractor. JiNma 284 series Y385 engine here. I'm going to change the injector pump. The valves are stuck in it, and we've tried and tried. Even had a professional mechanic, which I'm not, try, and it's just it's beyond, other than rebuilding, which is not feasible. You can buy a new one as cheap as a rebuild. So I'm gonna change it today, and I'm gonna start first by draining out got some clean jugs here. I'm gonna drain out the diesel fuel out the tank, so I'm not dealing with any of that issue, and that way I can use this diesel fuel for something else, maybe strain it and put fresh one in there when I'm done, so maybe I won't have any trouble in the future. But I'm gonna start there, and then I'll start removing stuff. Alright, now that I got the fuel drained out of the tank, and really you could just drain it below your return line so you don't have anything coming out of there, but I just wanted this to be the second time that the fuel's been drained out of there, and it just gets more particles or gel or anything that's accumulated in the tank out, and it's just not a bad idea. I can use it for other stuff around here. But anyway, now I'm gonna loosen all the linkages and all the return lines, fuel lines in and out and all that, and then I'll pull off the bottom radiator hose and drain that down so I have easy access to the timing cover on the front. Pull these injector lines off. And you can pull them completely off the engine, off the injectors too. For right now, I'm just going to loosen them and gently lift them away from the pump. Set of line wrenches would come in real handy right here. And of course, I don't have mine with me. have a drain pan down here to catch any fluid that's coming out, whether it be diesel or antifreeze coolant. Want to make sure you save all these bolts and all these washers that actually seal the fuel system. The new pump may come with new ones. I haven't really paid it much attention, but it doesn't hurt to hold on to them. Really, the first thing you should do is take a picture so you can remember, because you'll be surprised how you go to putting it back together and you wonder, where does this go? Or which side did this bolt go on? Put this line up out the way. And the new pump doesn't come with the prime valve here. You have to reuse that, the little breather cap, and maybe some other stuff. So basically you have to strip this one down and use on the next one. That's your little prime pump. And there's a little spring. I think it's like a little plunger in there. Yeah. You'll have to have that. You definitely don't want to lose it. Pair of needle nose. Okay. Now we need a screwdriver. This is the kill cable that shuts the engine down, shuts off the fuel flow. This is the throttle linkage, revs the engine. Ready to release the coolant. See if I can do it with this screwdriver. Again, I got a catch pan down there to catch this coolant so I'm not harming the environment or our animals around here. clamp off a little bit more. Probably work around some of this, but to me it's not going to hurt. It probably needs a coolant change anyway, because this tractor sat for 5 years. That's the whole issue with it. It's low hours. It's only got 105 hours. Either way, it never hurts to change the coolant, and if it's just less of a headache for me to have it out the way, then I need to take it out the way. Be careful twisting on this hose, because you don't want to it's a plastic radiator tank and neck on the bottom, and you just don't want to twist that off. Crack it. Get 2 pair of pliers in there where I can hold it. Work this clamp up out of my way. Now next I'm going to take this timing cover off the front here, so I can see, so I can get top dead center and make sure it hadn't jumped timing to begin with. Alright guys, so like I said, I guess you can see here there's a timing cover here on the front, and I'm sure there's a couple gears behind there where you line your marks up and you time this pump with your cylinder number 1 on top dead center. So before we take anything else loose on the pump, we're going to pull this cover off and see what we got back there first. Hadn't been able to find any videos, or the only instructions I found were where I got my pump from, and it was like a 5-step instruction, which was very, very vague and not much help at all. I may even end up pulling the radiator out of here, just give me more room. I'm sure I'm going to have to take this, probably a big gear right here, off of this pump. And I don't know what all's involved with that as far as a puller, or have no idea. We'll find out together. To me, it'd probably be worth pulling the radiator out, because I'm already fighting getting back in there to these bolts. I'd rather tear it all to pieces than fight it much. Plus, in doing so, I I get to learn the tractor a little bit for future repairs and maintenance. And that's really the outlook you should have on stuff like this. Instead of fear of, what if I mess it up? Well, it needs working on now, so I mean, you know, if you do mess something up, it may cost you a few bucks, but you learned a lesson. You'll still come out cheaper than the mechanic, more than likely. And you probably won't have to wait, because a lot of diesel mechanics there's probably a shortage of them like any other trade, and you'll probably have to wait your turn. Know every shop I drive by has got a bunch of tractors parked out front, or same with automotive mechanics. Find that screwdriver. See if I can tap this cover off of here. Not breaking the gasket too bad because I didn't order one. Like a little Permatex to fix that. So, get these glasses off, see if I can see some timing knots in there. I do see an O on, it's like an idler gear between the crank gear and the gear on this injector pump. The only thing is, the two marks are nowhere near lined up. I don't see where anything looks like it's jumped or moved at all. I'm going to mark where it's at right now. Which these things, that may be, they're supposed to be 18 degrees out of time. I'm going to open up this injector pump and see where it stands on the insides. I'm trying not to pull the #1 injector out to get top dead center. And nothing should be jump timing on this pump, so I should be able to get it to top dead center or pretty close by where the #1 is showing on here. By the belt. No such luck. #2 up. number one's pretty close right there. And again, this may be unorthodox what I'm doing here. I really don't know what I'm doing. I'll never bump the starter and get that there. I'll run the other side and see if I can move it. Trying to turn the crank to get it as close to top dead center as I can. A little bit more. What I'm calling the idler pulley. What I'm calling the idler pulley between the crank pulley and the actual gear that's on the front of the pump has two O's. And then there's a mark on this gear that's a 1-0. And I would think they would be between one another, but they're not. And I don't know what the purpose of that is. But I'm going to mark where they are. Hopefully this Sharpie will stay on there. Now what I'm going to do is, there's a bolt here in the center, a nut, and I know by the new pump there's a nut there and the shaft sticking out. I'm going to pull that off and get back with you. Alright guys, I took that nut off the center of the shaft there, and there's two mounting bolts, one on each side, one's on the back. And I'm going to take this filter off right here, this fuel filter, so I can get back there with better ease. Dump that fuel in my pan, save that filter. Probably gonna pick up a new one, but save it for now. And I need a 13mm. I think a socket would be best for this rear one. I think I'm just going to take it all the way out. That way the front bolt can hold the weight of the pump. Not a lot of room back there. You probably take a long extension and come out this other end. I only have one with me. I gave one to a guy that was broke down on the side of the road, and I had an appointment to get to and couldn't. I helped him pull his alternator off, and he was waiting on a new one to be delivered. And I couldn't stay because of my appointment. I just couldn't miss it. So I gave him what tools he needed to put it back on. So I'm down that extension in my arsenal. That's all right. I'm making do without it. The Lord's providing. And that's who's guiding me through this, because it sure isn't my knowledge on what I'm doing, because I have no clue. So I'm going to support this pump, and there may be more to pulling it off than pulling these bolts out, but I'm going to support this pump and pull this bolt. Now I'm thinking, here's another bolt in the bottom. That's what I'm thinking. Ideally, I would have left this front one to last, but that's alright. Maybe that's the last bolt. Needs a little help there. See if I can do it with this screwdriver. There's also a gasket there too, I'm hoping I'm not destroying. Creating more issues to work, parts to get. Work on this a little bit and get back with you and let you know what I came up with. So guys, it just needed a little love tap. I mean, a very light tap on the shaft. It's got a key on that shaft, and it just needs a little light tap to get it sliding out. There we have it. There's the old pump removed. Here's our bright, shiny new pump. As you can see, it's all filled with oil and got these caps and plugs and stuff where the hoses go. So I'm going to have to take all that off. I'm going to leave them on as long as I can till I got it mounted, so I don't have to worry about getting dirt and all that. Has a new key on the shaft, new nut. Just have to take this little plastic off. And basically it's just going to go back on in reverse of all that. So guys, once again, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just mechanically inclined. I'm a contractor and electrician by trade. But the way I'm attempting to time this thing is I marked my gears where they were before, and I opened up the side of my old pump, and the little plungers, or I don't know what they really are, but the one for number one cylinder, I have it up, and it was up on the old one. I'm gonna put it in the same spot on this one. I've read the 5-line instructions that tells you to put it on there, but you have to take the gear off and all this mess, and you turn it till fuel comes out of that one, and you know that's top dead center number one. Well, if the plunger's all the way up, that tells me it should be too. So I'm gonna try to go back together with it now and see what I get out of this. Like I say, I'm sure this is not the proper way to do it, but it's the way I'm attempting it, since there's really nothing out there. And I was wrong. This one did have a new pump, prime pump on it. It's just made out of plastic and looked nothing like the other one. So I'm gonna hold on to my old one. I'm gonna use the new one, but I'm gonna hold on to that old one as a replacement. So anyway, let's see what we can get done. this gasket's actually not in bad shape. To be honest with you, it'd be easier to just take that gear out the way. Got it marked. So we'll pull that gear out the way. Get all my bolts back on there. There's these three right here. That back one ought to be fun to start back, don't you know it? Work better when you drop them in the dirt. Get sand on the threads. Now I noticed these three bolt holes are slotted, so I'm guessing there's some adjustment in the timing can be done right there. Which your pulley has slots on its three bolts to it, where you can do some adjusting. I'll be happy with close enough to run, and then I can play with that. I will be ecstatic with that. And in my younger days, with gas engines, time them, and you really had to get your ducks in a row and get your head wrapped around it, check and double check everything. It wasn't that bad. The diesel, I've never dealt with this, so it's all new to me. I don't see doing a lot of adjusting with these just because you have these hard lines, injector lines on top. Put it roughly where it was before, and I'm going to tighten it down. I'm going to tighten these three bolts down and I'll get back to you. Alright guys, so I put the three bolts to hold the pump back onto the tractor. I got them tightened down. And I got my gear just sitting there. I still got to have to tighten the nut down. And things have changed from my original plan. This pump, when they assembled it, the keyed part of the shaft is not in the same position as far as the degrees go. So the gear can't go back on and my marks line up. But I'm keeping the crank gear set with those two zeros 90 degrees out of this side. So I still should be top dead center on the cylinder up here on number one. And I still have my pump with the plunger all the way up. Which I guess this pump has like a little cam in it, and those are actually lifters, maybe even roller lifters in there. So that lifter is all the way up to the top. So I think that should be close. As far as it may be off a degree or two, but I think it should be close enough to run, and then I can adjust from there, even if I have to maybe rotate my pump a little bit, which I just don't know. But I'm going to tighten this nut down on this gear, and I'm going to start hooking lines back up. I'm going to do that off camera because basically it's the reverse of what I done before. I'm going to hook it, connect everything. I'm not going to worry about my coolant right now because I can actually spin this thing over and it's not going to hurt it, you know. So I'm going to hook everything up with the coolant and these injector lines on top. I'm going to leave those off so I can make sure they're pumping and I'm going to bleed the air out of everything, but I'll come back to some of that, okay? So just hang in there, guys, and I'll be right back. Okay, guys, making a little progress. Hooked all my linkages back up. The only thing I had to do there was this arm on the throttle. It was turned down, so I had to pull it off and turn it up. They already have your low and high fuel set there, and it's wired off, so I just set it at the bottom, put the throttle to the bottom, and put the arm back on, put all my lines on, put my filter, pre-filled my filter, put my filter back on, got everything on but my injection lines. My high pressure lines going to the injectors. And I've primed. I used my pump. If you see right here, there's this bolt screw here with a, see that ring in it, like a bull ring? That I used to bleed. So I cracked it and I pumped till all the air come out, till I was getting a good flow, and while it was still flowing, I tightened it back down. So that should have the majority of the air out of everything up to the injection lines there. Now what I want to do, still got little plastic caps to keep the dirt out. Take these little plastic caps off for the injection lines hook up. And I want to see that I get fuel pumping out of there, because that was the issue with the old one. There was no fuel coming out the top of that old injection pump. So I'm going to spin that over and see if I get anything up there. I hear some air there somewhere. To be honest with you, I don't like this plastic pump. I may put the metal one back on there. Number 2 pumping fuel, number 1 pumping fuel. Looks like I'm getting fuel to me. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the number 2 on, since I don't have a line wrench, first and tighten it down. And I'm going to put 1 and 3 on. And I'll get back with you so you don't have to watch this monotonous stuff. Alright guys, a little bit of time has passed. Took me a little while to get all the air out of the lines. I actually found that I had a injector line where it actually ties in, the hard line, high pressure line ties into the injector. Was leaking where somebody had worked on it previously and it just wasn't seated right and had some corrosion on it. So took me a while to figure out I was getting air in the system there. So I spun it over, cracked all the lines, got all the air out of the top end. I still have this open right here, so I'm gonna have some oil come in there. Still have my hose off, but as long as I don't run it very long, I won't seize the motor. You know, it won't get too hot, and it's only going to splash out just a minimum amount of oil. But I want to make sure I got it timed halfway right before I close it all up. So I've already had it fire up for a second, and to kind of work the air out. But I'm going to show you what I got so far. I'm going to crank it up. But I don't see any leaks now in the fuel system, so I think I'm pretty close there, and I think it'll actually get better as it runs. But of course I have to get water in there, get coolant in there before I can actually do that. I think there may be still just some air in the system. There's a hose missing off the top here for a block breather, and I've read that it affects running and it don't, and it really shouldn't. But I'm gonna put it back, something there, and in the place of what's missing. And I don't have this gasket, but I'm gonna take some gasket maker silicone, get that closed up, get it filled back up with coolant. Oh, there's one thing that I forgot to say before we started turning this thing over. This is a reservoir right here on the back of the injection pump. This is pre-EPA, and owner's manual for the tractor says to use compressor oil in it. Well, I've been told you run transmission fluid, motor oil, compressor oil, whatever you want in it. The place that I bought this pump from said to run the same motor oil that you run in the engine and change it when you change the engine oil, which makes sense to me, which is what I've got in there. But use your own judgment on that, what you want to run in there. The main thing is make sure this always has oil in it. Don't, because it drips a little bit out this tube right down here as it runs. And the way I filled it up was I filled it till it started running out of that tube, and then I knew it was full. So do that before you really start spinning it over. This one came with a little bit of oil in it, but it was leaking all in the box it came in, so I didn't know how full it was. So I topped it off. I'll cut back in once I get all this buttoned up and let you see what I got. Alright guys, this is what I got. I did everything like I showed you, and it would crank up, but it smoked a lot and seemed to have a miss. But the pulley inside here, there's 3 bolts and there's slots, and you can get a few degrees of adjustment out of that. I loosened them, moved it a little bit at a time till I got finally I maxed out on my adjustment. I think maybe my timing gears should have been 1 tooth over, but I maxed out the adjustment and she's running pretty good. Let me show you how it sounds. It probably won't sound as good on there, but it sounds good to me. See, the thing is, I've never heard this tractor run before. It was donated to us, to our camp here, to help maintain and clear the land and work this land so we can. This is going to be a working ranch summer camp, Christian summer camp, and somebody donated it to us, and it had been sitting up for 5 years and just gummed up and had troubles, and so we said, well, you know what, we'll fix it ourselves, and I think we got her. The only thing is, you can probably tell by the light or whatever, it's a different time of day. I had a coolant leak. I'm going to have to order a hose for it, but I was able to shorten it a little bit, move the clamp up to get it where I could run it today and test it out. So let's see what we got. Pretty good. Again, I'm no mechanic, and this is the SmartTrac 284 tractor. It's a Chinese tractor. My best advice is, if you attempt this yourself, remember it's a Chinese tractor. Don't over tighten the fasteners, because they're not that great. They're real soft, and don't ask me how I know that. But anyway, injection pump, old style, pre-EPA, with the oil reservoir on the back. This is a Y385 engine, I think, 2007, and that 3-cylinder hadn't never ran before since, and we've had it a little less than a week now. We up and running. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this helps somebody. Remember, again, this is not a how-to video. This is a how I did it video, because I'm not a mechanic. I've just had diesels and had some equipment before. This is my second tractor, but I've had a big trencher and I've ran backhoes, track hoes, you name it before. I've done a little bit mechanicing on them. I've built trucks from the ground up, but I've never did a diesel fuel injector pump before. This is a first for me, and I learned a lot. And I learned that I hope I don't have any troubles, because I don't want to mess with it no more. But anyway, don't be afraid to do stuff yourself. If you can save some money, if it ain't running, what you gonna do? Break it? I don't think so. So God bless you, and remember, if you don't have Christ in your heart, all you have to do is believe in Him and accept Him. He died for your sins. Y'all have a blessed day. Thank you guys for watching today's video. If you made it this far, you did good because it was a long video.
Please like, subscribe, and follow us on social media.
And as always, God gets the glory for the good in our lives. Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. If you have any questions about our faith or on anything or prayer requests, please reach out to us through the email in the description. God bless.